May is almost here. StoryADay May is almost here. How's your creativity doing? I want to spend a little bit of time in the next few days just whipping up your creativity, whipping up your enthusiasm for this outpouring of creativity that happens every May at storyaday.org. Maybe you've taken part before and succeeded beyond your wildest dreams. Maybe you set your own rules and you reached them or came close. Maybe you've thought about taking part in StoryADay, but you weren't quite sure if it was for you. So I want to take the next few days, I'm going to send you some stuff, going to record some videos, just to talk you through what it's like to go through the StoryADay May challenge. Now, most people who come to StoryADay come because they're looking for something extra in their writing life. I certainly was when I invented it. I was failing to write, and that's a painful place to be. You have this urge to write. You know you can do it when it's going well, it goes really well. You feel like writing is a thing that really belongs to the essence of who you are, but you're not getting to it and you're not getting it done. So back in that dark March day in 2010, when the idea came to me that I was going to write a story every day in May because I was failing to write anything at all, and that seemed like a logical leap to me. Way back then, I just was miserable because I wasn't writing. I was busy, I had kids, maybe you've got a job, you come in from work, you make dinner, you put the kids to bed, or you talk to your people you live with and fulfill all your daily obligations, and by the time it comes round to the moment when you have some time to write, you're kind of drained and it's so much easier to put it off for tomorrow. Or maybe you try to write but you're busy and social media is interrupting you, or maybe some big show is coming back for its last season and it's so much easier to just go downstairs and watch that than it is to sit at your desk and create something new, because it is difficult to create something new. So even if you start and you get started on a story, it's very easy to get lost in the middle or to get discouraged because it's a first draft, and to just, lose confidence in your ability to write. And then you end up with this fear of failing again. And I have been there a lot. I was there when I founded StoryADay May in 2010. I've been there since. Pretty much every project has a moment like that, at least one. But I've learned some things over the years that have allowed me to take myself and thousands of other writers through the month of May from a place where they were maybe bitter, because they weren't getting their writing done, frustrated, closed off from those creative impulses, because it's painful to have the creative impulse and not be able to act on it. So we close ourselves off and we shut ourselves down. And maybe we get to a point where we're not even gaining any pleasure from other writers' success or any of our friends who are achieving things because we're not achieving things. Maybe we lose our joy in reading because all we can think is, I could write if I could just find the time and the motivation and the space and the confidence. I could write better than this guy, or I would love to be writing as well as this woman. And we get bitter and closed off, and none of those things are conducive to writing. Bill Murray gave some advice about life that I read recently, which was that we do everything better when we are very, very relaxed. He said the more fun I have on a job, the better I am as an actor. And that's certainly true for writing. The more closed off and anxious you get about writing, the less likely you're going to have any fun, and the less likely your writing is going to be any good. You spend time resenting the people around you because they're taking your time and attention away from your writing. And none of that is the person who you want to be. I discovered in the first year that I did StoryADay May, it was a big deal because I had two children, one who was 5 and one who was 8, and they're pretty demanding at that age. And I just kind of sprung it on my husband and said, I'm going to do this thing, so I'm going to go upstairs after dinner every night and I'm going to write for a little bit. And for the first few nights, it was difficult. But when I came back downstairs every night, I was kind of a different person. I had done this thing for myself that made me feel connected to the person I really am. It was an act of self-respect. It was me taking time to be the person I more fully am. Not to mention the fact that writing is fun. If you can get the story going and get into the flow, it's really fun. If you can complete a story, which is the challenge for StoryADay May, it's complete a story every day, tiny stories. But if you can complete a story, you get that endorphin rush, that dopamine hit of finishing the story, and you also get the practical understanding of what your story wants to be. You can start with a premise or a character, or you can start with a title or a cool idea, but it's not really until you've written most of the way to the end that you tend to know what the story really is about. And when you hit that point, it's such a high, it's such a rush, and you come back to your everyday life and you have satisfied part of yourself that is essential to who you are, and the people around you start to notice. You're more present for them when you've done your writing every day, because you're not anxious. You're not thinking, oh, I should be writing. Oh, I wish I was writing. Oh, if these people would just leave me alone, I could get some writing done. When you've carved out half an hour, 90 minutes, whatever it is from your day, and you've done your writing, you can let it go for the day, and you can be more fully present for the people around you. And don't think they're not going to notice. They are going to notice. You're going to send this kind of pleasure out to the people around you. Those people will start to take your writing more seriously when you do. I don't know if you remember a few years ago, probably a long time ago now, there was an advert for the Volkswagen Beetle, and it was people in the street. Somebody saw something, and I can't remember if you saw that it was a beetle at the beginning, but somebody saw the beetle and it just made them smile. And as they were walking down the street, they were still smiling. So the next person coming towards them started smiling. And then they went into a shop, and the person in the shop started smiling. And they just spread this happiness. And the message was that, the Volkswagen Beetle was spreading all this happiness. But it's how it works. If we are happier and more fulfilled, then the people around us are happier and more fulfilled as well. And think what, people see you writing every day in May. They see you making this massive challenge to yourself and living up to it. It's wonderful it's wonderful for your writing practice, yes. It's wonderful for your big stack of stories that you get at the end of the month, big stack of first drafts that you can revise. But it's really wonderful for your self-respect, for teaching you that you can do things that are hard. And it's really important for telling people around you, this is important to me. I am a writer. And writing is not about bestseller lists. Writing is not about publishing deals. Writing is about communicating our ideas to another mind by means of squiggly marks on a page. And it's important. It's not just important to us, it's important to the world. We're deep thinkers, we're sensitive, we are people who think about how interpersonal relationships matter. We should be the people influencing the culture. And unless you're doing your writing, you're just not going to feel fulfilled, because somebody else is then creating the culture and you're just reacting. Whereas you could be putting stuff out there into the world that is coming from your heart. You could be telling your story to your people. I have friends, think what it would do for other people in your life beyond just making them happier because you're happy. I have people in the StoryADay community who have gone on to publish their first stories, have revitalised their joy of writing to the point where they have revised their novel, taken it to an agent, got it published, got a second book published, and whose children now make sure that mum has time for writing because they see how important it is to her. They see that this is something that she does, this is possible. And when you see that reflected back at you from them, you know that it's possible too. I remember my aunt telling me that, oh, I found myself talking to one of my friends one day and I found myself saying, I was just reading my niece's book. And she thought, oh, that sounds so wonderful. Now, you know, that's kind of a funny story. It doesn't really matter on the world stage, but it made my aunt so happy that I was doing the thing that I had a talent for and that she was able to brag about it a little bit. Charlie Jane Anders, who won a Nebula for her book a few years ago, in her acceptance speech said, oh, I'm dropping my notes here. She said, she wasn't sure that she was good enough to write the book she wanted to write. She had a really ambitious book. She wasn't sure she was good enough to write it, and that she hoped her award meant that the next person who was arguing with themselves would be able to tell the voices to shut up and just go and write their frickin' book. And I quote, when you write, when you build your writing practice, you send ripples out into the world. And writing becomes part of your identity. And it becomes that much easier to say to people, I'm a writer. Regardless of whether you've been paid for it. If you write, you're a writer. And I want you to find ways to get that. I would argue that StoryADay is one of those ways. I aim to make it simpler, easier, more fun for you. I make it easier for you by giving you prompts every day. And they're like little mini writing exercises. They're not just, you know, a guy walks into a bar kind of prompts. They are prompts about point of view, prompts about character, prompts about voice. And I give you little writing exercises every day that you can use or ignore, entirely up to you. But you'll always have access to that stuff, so you can come back and use them anytime. You can go on the website actually and you can see 10 years worth of prompts. There are Write on Wednesday prompts throughout the year, and then there are challenge prompts that I've posted over every May since 2010 and some Septembers as well. I try and make it this simpler for you to integrate writing into your life by putting a limit on this. We're going to write a story a day for a month. We're not going to do this forever. I'm not asking you to write 2,000 words a day forever. I'm saying take 1 month and try and write a story every day in order to, yes, build a portfolio of first drafts that you can review and revise and submit and have fun with, but also so that you can experiment both with your writing and your voice and your genre and what length you like to write, and also so you can experiment with your writing practice. If you're committed to writing a story every day for a month, you're going to have to play with what works on a weekday, what works on a weekend day, what works on a special occasion. How are you going to cram your story in when you've got a birthday in the family, or when you've got to take a trip. Find out what works for you on a mundane day. Find out what works for you on a day that's extraordinary. Find out what works for you after you've been writing for 5 days in a row. Can you do the same thing every day? Do you thrive on routine, or do you thrive on novelty? Do you need things quiet? Do you need things busy? You're not going to know this until you try it. And you could take years. If you're writing once a week, or once a month, you could take years to discover this stuff. But give me a month, commit to writing every day. You will find ways to develop a writing routine and a writing habit that works for you. And some of it won't work. Some days you'll try something and it'll be a bust, and you'll be like, I wish I hadn't worked in that coffee shop, it was terrible. And then you know. So this is a process of learning about your specific writing needs, your specific writing voice. I can't teach you that, but I can lead you through the process, and I can give you support. And the StoryADay community can give you the support you need to make your writing a priority for this 1 month. Doing it with other people is a lot of fun. We have a great community here at StoryADay, and I think you will enjoy hanging out with them. There's people who've been here since 2010, there's people who just found us. It's very supportive, very non-judgmental, and everybody's just here to write, and everybody's insecure, and I think you'll like us. I think you'll like us. So I do encourage you to come over to the website, dig around a little bit. If you haven't signed up for the mailing list yet, do so, and I will send you the Creative Challenge Workbook, which is, and if you are on the mailing list, dig around in your archives and find that. Let me know if you can't find it. It's something this is the perfect time to go through that. We're 2 weeks out from the challenge, and it's basically a series of exercises you can do, written exercises, where you go through thought experiments. What would it mean to you to get to the end of the month having written a story every day? Or if you're making up your own rules, having written a story 3 days a week, or whatever it is you've come up with for this challenge. Something that pushes you a little bit more than you're comfortable with. So go through the StoryADay Creative Challenge Workbook, which I will send you if you sign up for the mailing list. And just try and imagine what it's going to be like to get to the end of the month and do that. Now, I have found, and I will be honest, that there are a lot of people who come into StoryADay with a bang. They're super excited to get going, and they fall away a little bit, and they're not there at the end of the month. One of the things that can help you with that is certainly filling out that Creative Challenge Workbook, because it captures the excitement of this moment, and it helps you to keep that excitement in mind on days when things are, the novelty's worn off a little bit. But I do want to come back and talk to you in this next video or post or email, however you're receiving this. I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the strategies I have discovered over the years for killing that mid-challenge slump and really allowing yourself to live up to your expectations. There are some very specific things you can do which will improve your chances of getting to the end of the month with a stack of short stories, a bunch of new friends, and a whole support network, as well as a deeper understanding of your writing practice, your voice, your strengths, your opportunities for development, as they say in schools these days. So stay tuned, and I really look forward to spending some more time with you in May. And if you could, leave a comment for me and tell me, what is your biggest struggle when it comes to writing? I talked a lot in this video about time and distractions and lack of confidence, but I'm really interested to hear, what is it that's keeping you from being the writer that you want to be? Leave a comment and let's keep talking.